Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Lang. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Lang.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. It's our favorite day of the week. Get together every Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, to talk about this elusive topic of certainty. How do we find it? How do we develop it? How do we not just bless our own lives with it, but also those for whom we care? Well, our guest today, Tom Markel, is a great example of someone who is doing exactly that with his company, Seniority. We're going to get into what he does and how he does it and how it can help create more certainty for you and your loved ones. But first off, Tom, thanks for being with us. I appreciate you being here on Finding Certainty with me this morning.
Thanks, Patrick, for having me. I'm thrilled.
Absolutely. I like your backdrop there. It looks like Southern Utah. Is that right?
Southern Utah. It's those caverns that you walk through, and they've just got beautiful shadows and colors of the rainbow. And it makes you, kind of reminds you that there's a God.
100%. You know, I grew up in Utah. I've spent a lot of time in Zions and Bryce Canyon and those areas. Whenever I have people who come to Vegas, that's what they want to see as part of, their American experience. They're from India or Europe or somewhere. I say, got to go north and go up into Zions and go see the Canyonlands. It's incredible. So thanks for being here.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. I'm thrilled to be here for you.
100%. We started this show. I started this show, and I was telling you before we started here that I typically have a guest on, and had a wide variety of guests from all sorts of backgrounds, from entrepreneurs and business leaders like yourself, and athletes, artists. I had a comedian on once, et cetera, et cetera. But what we do in these interviews and with this show is we unpack this topic of certainty, and we really dive into and dig into what is certainty, how does it work, how can we create it more in our lives. I mean, we did a Google search a couple years ago and for the word certainty, and there were thousands and thousands of hits and media appearances just in the last 24 hours. And it's interesting though, because then we looked at the topic of uncertainty, and there were tens of thousands of hits, even hundreds of thousands, right?
Interesting.
And so it's definitely on people's minds. I think they're thinking a lot more about their uncertainty than they are their certainty, because a lot of people just feel out of control. They don't feel like they have a lot of say and a lot of control and a lot of just influence on what's happening in their lives. And that's why I love what you do with Seniority, and we'll get into that, but because that's exactly what you're helping create, right? Because there are ways, and that's what this whole show is about. There are ways to create more certainty in our lives, amplify it, and really enjoy it, embrace it, right? So I always start out the show with sharing specific reasons why I've invited this guest to be with me. And I used to think, well, I should share at least one reason, and then it's my show. If I want to share two, I'll do that. And so I've been doing that for a long time. And because there's usually at least two, right? And in your case, you've been a very successful business owner. You're an accomplished entrepreneur, had several successful ventures, and so I love the fact that you weren't. It may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. You've been down that pathway, and I think you can share insights that can be of benefit to others who are following in your wake. And so there's that. I love having accomplished entrepreneurs like yourself who can share lessons and insights. And the second, though, is, as I said, what you do. And just to clarify, anyone who's listening, Seniority is a service that helps seniors or anyone really, even young couples who want to be prepared and they're worried about the future. They want to have their estate documents in place. Now, a lot of ways you can do that, right? You can log on to LegalZoom or something like that and get a out of the box version that's not very good, but it gives you the basics. You can hire a law firm and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to have this done. We're talking your living trust, your will, your powers of attorney, your medical, directive, and your financial, and so forth. And what Tom has come up with is a way for anyone who wants those things to be put in place to do it very easily, very simply, very quickly, and fairly inexpensively in comparison to what else is out there. And so I just feel like Tom, and you know this, we've talked a lot about this, but I feel like you fit this need. You're filling this need that people have, but you're kind of in my opinion, the sweet spot, right? You have attorneys in all 50 state, or it's nationwide. In any state, you are working with attorneys, so it's not just an AI bot or something like that, right?
Right.
But your pricing is such that it's really affordable. It's something that even a young couple could afford to do without having to break the bank. And so, I love it when I see businesses like your own that are delivering a really fantastic service without gouging customers to do it, right? Without taking advantage, right? And it's just, that's exactly what you're doing. And so we're honored to be partnered with you and excited about what you're doing, and we'll get into that. So anyway, I get accused on this show of being a little bit of a storyteller and a little bit of it's kind of a reflective show. I like to kind of take you down memory lane and understand before we get into what you do, kind of who you are. And so maybe just share a little bit about where you grew up and some of your background that led to where you are today. Who is Tom Markel, and how did you end up here on Finding Certainty talking about this company called Seniority?
Oh, thanks, Patrick. Yeah, it's I just turned 70 the other day, and my friends have said to me, "God, that is really old." And they're all over 70, right? They're all
right.
We're all peers, and it's and as I was reflecting on the word old, it really is old. The word 70 is just really old. And then I kind of reflected back, is that old comes with some great accomplishments. I'm really, really thrilled and overjoyed to be here at 70. And without a lot of, physical drama in my life. Yeah, I've broken my leg ski racing, and I'll tell you about that. And we all had our issues of, pain and agony here and there, but kind of done it without a lot of sickness, and long-term sickness. And I pray to God every day about my five senses. I can see, I can hear, I can taste, I can touch. And my wife and I, they had a marriage counseling kind of thing they wanted us to do years ago. And my wife and I have been married 41 years, and we have 4 kids. They're not kids, they're 40, 38, 37, and 32. And so I call them kids, as we all do, but they're really adults and they're very successful. But I've said, we spent about $30,000 in marriage counseling over 41 years of marriage. So it's about $750 a year. And it really, as we've grown, you grow apart, then you kind of come together, and grow apart, come together. And we've just been thrilled about a guy that we know that's kind of helped us through our, life changes and our maturity and our emotional stuff. But anyway, this back a while ago, he said, "I want you to go and write down a sheet of paper what one word describes you." And I said, "Okay." So I write down mine, and I fold mine up, and I hand it to her, and she writes down hers and hands it to me. And guess what the word was? Adventurers.
And you both wrote the same word.
And we both wrote the same word.
Wow.
And this is my wife and I,
you're hiding in the background. I saw that.
Background. and we really love this the and that really calls the entrepreneur spirit alive when your adventures in business, your adventures in spirituality, your adventures in how you learn, your
I love
adventures
that. That's
you,
really great.
in exploring the outdoors. And I tell people I find God in the closest places of three things: fly fishing, golf, and skiing. And we do a lot. We play pickleball and tennis, and we do all
Uh-huh,
kinds of things.
uh-huh.
I find that nature is one of those self-fulfilling prophecies of growth. It's because it envelopes all five senses of your body. And
100%.
kind of it's going to be a long answer about my life, but um, I'm the oldest of five kids and grew up in Denver, Colorado. My dad was with Peter Kiewit, so they moved all over the country, building roads and dams and bridges and so on. And then settled in Colorado, where I was born in Omaha, but out of Omaha, he went to Casper, Wyoming, and my brother was born there, and I have three sisters, and so the oldest is an experiment. They don't write enough books about the oldest because your oldest doesn't fit any book.
That's right. And you said you're the oldest?
Yeah,
Yeah, I am as well.
and
And
so
my wife is, which it makes for an
ooh,
interesting dynamic, right?
ooh, that's an interesting because this guy, this counselor we got to, he says you have a 50% better chance of staying married if you marry outside your hierarchy in your
Yeah.
family. So
Yeah.
oldest marries youngest or middle, and oldest, and whatever. And my wife is the middle, and I'm the oldest. So we still spent a lot of fortune in staying married, which is a good thing in hindsight.
It's a lot of work, marriage is an ongoing evolution. Talking about being adventurers, right? I mean, marriage is an adventure. Just
Yes,
you're taking these two
yes.
completely separate people with completely different backgrounds and upbringings and trying to blend them into one unit. And it takes work, right? It's just simple.
I kind of hindsight, it's miraculous that it works for so long when it does work.
That's right.
We've got
Right.
friends that are 60 years married and 50 years and 40 years. I think we're about the average 40 years, or the youngest of all the friends we have married.
Yeah.
And, and everybody asks, well, how did you stay married 50 years? Or how do you stay married 60 years? I mean, and the answers are always the same, commitment, capital C.
Hmm.
Anyway, so back to the kind of the story of 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 that my life. And so, anyways, grew up in Colorado. Friend introduced me to skiing at about age 13 and golf at about age 13, and and fishing kind of about that same time, Cherry Creek Reservoir and
Hmm.
fishing. And I was just so attracted to this. Now, my dad never got out of his tie. He mowed the lawn in his tie. He did the sidewalk in his tie, cleaned the garage. We built an airplane in our garage. I mean, a two-man Cessna 142 with a
Wow.
stick in the center and the fiber
Yeah.
wing.
Yeah.
So we were. And I just never saw him come out of a tie, and he never really did anything outdoorsy. And when I discovered the outdoors, I was just so enthralled by the magic and the beauty and the majestic nature of God's creation that I just needed to explore more and more and more of it. So I got into skiing, and I joined this thing called the Eskimo Ski Train, which every Sunday my dad would take me down to the Saturday and Sunday, take me down to the train station. We'd go up to Winter Park, Colorado, and they had these badges that you'd go up, and I became like from this white badge to the black, like karate guy, in
Yeah.
ski
Yeah.
very, very fast. I'm just thrilled. So at about 14, I joined the ski team, and then I moved up to Copper Mountain for a couple of years of ski racing, then moved to Vail to try to be a better ski racer and try to get on the U.S. ski team. And
Nice.
the process of becoming an athlete takes, a great deal of commitment and time. And in the summers, I needed to make enough money so I could ski all year long and commit my life to everyday ski racing and working out and being good. My
Right.
parents didn't have any money, so I had to do it all on my own. So I saw an ad in the newspaper when I was 15 years old, make $15,000 this summer.
It's a lot
And
of money for a 15-year-old.
yeah, and come over to this address. So my dad, I didn't have a car, and my dad takes me over and it says Kirby vacuum cleaner. I said, no, Dad, I'm not going in. He says, you get in there and you interview and you do something for 90 days that's different than what you're doing over here, work cleaning pools and mowing lawns and all that sort of stuff. So I applied, and I think door-to-door sales is probably one of the great contributors to adventure life that you could start with in meeting people, the adventure of people.
I couldn't agree more. Let me interject because
Yeah.
I didn't know this about you, Tom. You and I have talked several times and we've developed a friendship, but I didn't realize how much we have in common. I mean, I grew up in Utah, so I'd go skiing every Saturday, right? The bus came around, picked us up. We had 10 resorts within 30 minutes. And so I was the diehard skier growing up. I golf, but my heart, my love, it was skiing. My knees can't handle skiing very much these days.
Right. Yeah.
I love golf, but I love fly fishing as well. And I lived on the creeks in Utah. And my dad was the same way. He was an administrator for the LDS Church for many years, and then Brigham Young University, and he wore a tie, and he was not an outdoors guy. I love my dad; he's a great dad, but he was not that guy. I learned how to fly fish from Scoutmasters and things like that, and then so we have the similarities, and I actually sold Rainbow vacuum cleaners. They were the Kirby vacuum competitor, right?
The water bag,
and I did a lot of door-to-door sales. That's how I worked my way through college, selling Rainbow vacuum cleaners and Castlewick cookware and Cutco knives and Living Scriptures videotape. I mean, eventually I did the last 2 or 3 years selling phone directories, advertising. We go back to the Midwest and eventually went to Alaska, and it was great. Yeah, and I agree with you. It's a great way to kind of cut your teeth and earn your chops, and if you want to be an adventurer, it's a great way to get there. So,
where it really was, I did it just one summer. You got really into it, but I did it one summer, and I did make $15,000. It was no kidding. I was the number 2 guy in the United States. It was owned by Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that at the time. I now know that being a shareholder of Berkshire Hathaway, but the one experience that I had in that 90 days is I sold a vacuum cleaner, Kirby, to a lady that had no rugs, had nothing except a couch and a couple of chairs, but she had a tiger in her home with all this, that stuff that you would put for cats.
Yeah.
Floors everywhere. And she had a mobile home.
A tiger?
A tiger. You should have seen this thing. It was huge. I was scared to death. I'm 15 years old and there's a freaking tiger in the living room in the corner, and there's this cat litter everywhere. But she bought a vacuum cleaner to clean off the cat stuff off the couch and the chairs and the bed.
What a great story.
So anyway, talk about learning and adventure. People come in all sizes and shapes and forms and colors and. Anyway,
so moving forward, though, you assume you went to college, and then you eventually became an entrepreneur. How did all that come about?
Well, my dad was working for Martin Marietta, and he had on the side a plane business. And I told you we rebuilt a 142 Cessna in the garage.
Right.
He had a little plane business where he would it was a sale leaseback where he would talk doctors into buying an airplane, and then lease it back to them, give them a return, and then he would rent it out and fly people to Aspen and have an education and teaching people how to fly. And it was called Royal American Flyers. Well, one day, the guy left a note behind that he was going to kill himself and flew the plane into the side of a mountain and did kill himself. And that caused our insurance to go skyrocket about 800%, and forced my dad out of business. So I went to Regis High School, which is an all Catholic boys school in Denver, went over to Regis College, which was all boys at the time I went there as a senior, because I really loved mathematics. And so they advanced me over into the college. And I spent 1 year there at Regis, and my dad had this problem. So I left college to help my dad, work out the issues and kind of try to turn that thing around, which we ended up not being able to do because the insurance was so high. But anyway, he should have actually franchised that thing nationwide. And now, of course, there's FBOs, fixed base operators everywhere in the country in these small little airports.
Right.
And they have helicopters and planes and all kinds of things you can learn, how to fly.
Mhm.
Well, anyway, did that. And then I went to the mountains to ski race, up until I was about 26 years old. So I was ski racing in the winters. I was working in the summers. I was, just a wide variety of different jobs. But so I got my 1 year college in and really just became an entrepreneur, a guy that would look for opportunities. And so when I fell in a downhill in Vail, got in my push button Rambler and drove to where the land ran out. 45th Street in Newport Beach, California. You can't go any further. The
Nope.
ocean's there. I look up, there's a little rental sign. I rent a little place above a garage and I never go home. So I'm
Right. Wow.
26 years old and I'm done with ski racing. Now I've got to create my life. And so my first really big adventure, I mean, really, really big, was that I find girls, in Newport Beach, California. So I would take them out, and the first thing you would do is you'd rent a pair of roller skates and roller skate along the boardwalk.
Right.
Well, a couple problems existed when I did that. One is you couldn't, they're so popular that they wouldn't be available. Number one. Number two is when they were available, they gave you a black boot leather for the guy with a steel plate and white hard wheels. And they gave the girl a white boot with a steel plate with white wheels, which basically they took the indoor roller skate outdoors.
Yeah.
And it smelled, these things stunk. Oh God, it was awful, right? The leather and the summer and the heat and the sweat. And nobody wore socks. You just stuck them on, laced
Oh,
them up.
jeez.
Oh my God, it was awful. And then when you got your girl out there, she'd hit a little curved thing on the boardwalk, fall down, put her hands down, and break her wrist. So we'd go to the Hoag Hospital to get him. This is our date. This is
Oh,
a great
jeez.
date, right? So I come back and I go, God, there's just got to be a better way. And so I invented the outdoor roller skate. I had a nylon plate made out of super tough. I went and got these big polyethylene wheels. And then I called Adidas because Adidas sponsored me as a ski racer. And I'm talking to the local guy, and he says, "Well, let's get a hold of Germany and see what the marketing guy would said if you can get some Adidas shoes." I get on the phone with, it's such a big deal that Mrs. Dossler, Audie died. This is her, and I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Adidas, but this is his wife. I speak to her on the phone. She's got an interpreter. I'm 26 years old. I mean, I'm speaking to the CEO founder of Adidas,
What a story.
husband, wife, and I'm just like taken back. It was the first time I really realized that we all put our pants on the same way.
Right.
We all put our shirts on the same way. We dress, we have our issues. And here, the first time I'm 26, I'm speaking to the founder of Adidas, the wife, and we are negotiating the purchase of 500,000 pairs of shoes to put on my roller skates. The bottom line is, she says,
Wow.
Mr. Markel. I said, that's Tom, Miss Dossler. It's just Tom. And she says, I'm going to give you all the shoes for free. I give you all of them. I'll ship them to you for free. I got 500,000 pairs of roller skates shoes all over the world, and I need to get rid of them. And I'll charge you $5 a pair, though, to sell them because I got to pay my marketing guys to sell them. This is after some this Adidas documentary is worth seeing on, I don't know which channel it is, but it's worth a
On
see.
Netflix.
That's where
Yeah,
his
I
brother
think I've seen it.
Puma, they broke apart from a fight, and Puma was started by his brother. Anyway, so we get these shoes, they start coming in. Well, we go to I tell you, I didn't have any money. I mean, I was, as broke as you could be. So they take 4 pairs, we put them in glass boxes, and they fly them to, including me, to the Chicago Sporting Goods Show at McCormick Place. Sure, you've been there. Most people have. Anyway, it's huge. And they put light boxes on these 4 roller skates and they twirl them around. We sold 500,000 500,000 pairs of roller skates in 3 days at the show.
Oh my gosh.
The
And
king
were
of
they
Spain.
roller blades or
That
roller skates?
No skates. The four
Okay.
rollerblades wasn't even thought of, not
Yeah,
even in
yeah.
the
Yeah,
picture.
yeah. Okay.
And so we blow the doors. I've got orders, I mean, from the Big Five and retail J.C. Penney's and Sears. And, Adidas was, I mean, Nike wasn't even on the stage. They weren't even born yet,
Yeah.
right?
But they were all different colors and everything. So they weren't
Yeah,
just
they were
black and white,
they had
right?
different colleges that had bought them, and they had too many, and so there's
Okay.
all sorts of things. And so, but I had a majority of them called the Black Widow roller skate, which I've now bronzed. It's actually a bronze, my first ever roller skate by
Nice.
bronze. And so, we sold them for $50 each. We did 25 million in revenue, and it was my 26 years old, and now I got to go raise money to build a factory, hire people, could do the contents, get them in, store them, ship them, logistics, the whole thing.
Right.
So I go to investors one after another. I fly to Omaha, I fly into Florida, I'm going to New York. I'm anybody that I'm talking, trying to figure. I'm 26. I've never done this before. I was a skier, I'm a dumb skier. So anyway, everybody said no. Nobody said, I have orders. I have orders.
Despite the success.
Yeah, I have all this stuff in my hand. I got all the reason, $25 million worth of orders, and no one wants to fund me.
Because
They,
you're a
they say, which is,
kid.
I'm a kid.
Yeah.
What do you know about shipping? Nothing. What do you know about QC? Nothing. What do you know about manufacturing? Nothing. You know nothing about anything. So you have all these orders, so nobody would give me any money. So long and short of it, I go to a banker on Harbor Boulevard called Citizens Bank that's now Wells Fargo. And Mike, the guy in there, says, I can't help you, but I've got a guy that's always looking for opportunity. His name is Henry. So I'm 26. I'm on the beach. A guy knocks on the door. This guy, Patrick, was the one-eyed cyclops. I mean, he was the ugliest man I've ever met. I mean, he stunk. He had stuff on his clothing. He was not shaven. He was disheveled, and I thought he was a bum from the beach. That had come up to the door and wanted some food. And I said, what can I do for you? I'm kind of an arrogant. And he says, well, Mike from the bank sent me to see you. And I said, okay, come on in. You want a beer? Sit down on the couch. Yeah, you got a beer. And anyway, I'm kind of treating him like a secondary citizen. I said, yeah, what can I do for you? And he says, well, tell me a little bit about your business. And he says, well, I have these orders. Show him these orders. I got $25 million worth of orders. I don't have any money. I need $1 million to start the factory, and I have it located over here in Irva, or in Costa Mesa. And la 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 la. Long story short, he gets out a checkbook from his pocket. Checkbook. Writes out a check, $1 million. Signs it, hands it to me. And I say to him, anybody could do that. I
Are
can
you
do that.
serious?
I'm treating him this way. I'm treating him this. I'm sharing this for a great lesson, another great lesson I've learned. Anyway, so I call the bank. He says, well, call Mike. I call Mike. He said, hey, Mike, I got Henry here, and he's written me a check for $1 million. He says, bring it down, son. It'll cash.
Wow.
I went back to that guy on total humble. So he says, how much do you give me for $1 million of my? I said, well, how much do you want? And he said, how's 10%? I said, done. I'm thinking 90, which I had given him.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10% done. I said, shook
That
hands.
does not happen, Tom.
I
that.
know. It doesn't happen. So anyway, I have 18 stories like this, Patrick. I could be on your show for week over week up just my stories of my 18 companies that I founded. And they all are so developed in stories. And each one of them is God given me these people in my life so that I could learn from these people. And the takeaway was that, I guess in 2 words, judge less.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard for us because we see and we hear people's content and we see what they're saying, and we look at them and how they're dressed, and we instantly judge loser, successful. And in California, we have the Ferraris and all the big to do here. And so people can lease all that, and you never know if they're real or they're not real.
Right.
But the first lesson I came away with, which was really a shock for me, is the judgment that I had for this guy and the way I treated him. And then he gives me this $1 million, and we proceed to build out the skates, and we were very, very successful and had Hollywood and all that sort of stuff. So that was my 26 to 29-year-old story of building a roller skate empire.
So what are a couple other lessons you've learned over the years? Because I agree with you. As we look back on our careers, our successes, there's always that opportunity to judge, and oftentimes judge wrong. And I've learned to, I think just as you're illustrating here, I've learned to take everybody with a grain of salt, right? And be open-minded. I've had opportunities, partnerships, and joint ventures we've created that we didn't see coming. We didn't plan them. We at first blush, we didn't think it was going to work. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of that. We're working on an engine that we're developing. We have an engineering firm working on it. It's about to be ready to be patented. It is a breakthrough technology. And I met the guy who invented it on the side of the road. He was a trucker. He was coming through Houston. I was going to be there for business, and he just wanted to meet me. This was 20 years ago. And we've been friends ever since. And this guy, he's a trucker, right? He's a mechanic. Yeah. I mean, he's a guy who works on machines. He knows how they work. He knows what they need. And he has the strongest Southern accent you would not believe. People blow him off because they think he doesn't know anything because of his Southern drawl, and his fact he's wearing overalls and he's got grease on his fingers. And the guy is a genius.
Yeah.
And he invented something that is transformational. The timing wasn't right 20 years ago. Today it is, with everything that's happening with electric cars and even flying cars and drone industry and all these other things. We've got opportunities with NASA, with the list goes on and on. And so all because of this relationship that I developed, and we've gotten to be friends, that I could have easily blown off because it would have been easy to prejudge him. Right. And I'm so grateful I didn't. Right. But so a couple other lessons though. What would you say? Maybe you share one, I'll share one, and then let's get into what brought you, how did it bring you to where you are today? Because I think what you have through seniority is sorely needed, right? It's something that the majority of Americans need in their lives. And if they don't have it, they're going to have the complete opposite of certainty, right? They're going to have repercussions and ramification, expense, and uncertainty.
The generation below them.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's significant. So
I think the next thing was very big. I created a $2 billion mortgage company, and I've had 18 companies, and I tell people I've had 9 base hits, 2 triple plays, out of the park home run, and 3 strikeouts. So I have as an entrepreneur, my dad used to say, you're either in Cyrano's drinking the wine or in Fresno smashing the grapes. And, it's just this bandwidth of, you go in going, oh God, this is the most, and I've lived enough life, and you get in the river and you start rowing, and you've got plants and trees coming up and rocks and, big waterfalls. You don't expect it. You're just going down the river. You start in this nice, calm little area, but if you start down the river, just life changes, because the river.
Here come the rapids.
Here comes the rapids. You don't know how big they are out not there because you've never been down the river before. So, anyway, it's my example of how entrepreneurship works. Is you're in a river and you're in the smooth area, and
it's a good metaphor.
All you see is the horizon of smooth, and then life happens. But
what's that noise I'm hearing? What's that thundering sound coming up around the bend?
Should we get out, walk around, and look at it, and then go down, or
that's right,
go down it? So again, I have 18 companies, so I have a lot of messages. But one of the major messages is I was I lived in Newport Beach. I had $1 million home. I bought it for 250. It had gone up to 1 million. I wanted to borrow another 250 against it. I think I had payments down to about 100. So if I borrowed 250, I'd be at about 350. And it was be a second. And the hard money guys wanted 5% a month on a $350,000 total loan on $1 million home. That's 60% interest a year.
Yeah.
And I said, this is morally and ethically wrong. This is just not good. So I approached a banker up in LA and I gave him this idea that why don't we charge 1% a month? And he agreed to give me $30 million to start the fund, of making loans to homes. And then we'd securitize that and we'd get another 30 million and 30 million. Well, it grew into a $2 billion business in 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah, 18 months. And so we blew that model up. And the reason it blew up so fast is because on the banking side, he had 3,000 correspondent relationships, and we invented the product, the mortgage. So if you can imagine 3,000 other bankers and mortgage brokers and so on that he would already connected with, we just plugged the product into their system and it blew up. And what I've learned in my life is a couple of things. One is that distribution is the most important strategic partner you can have because in business you need an equation that looks like this. 1 + 1 needs to equal 11. Okay.
You know how many times I've said that to people? Yeah. 1 + 1 equals, you hear people say 1 + 1 = 3, right?
Right.
Talking about this principle. But then I said, but if you put them side by side and you work together, it's 11. It's not one. Yeah. So yeah,
it needs to have that kind of leverage in it to really.
I agree.
Because you spend so much time, you spend so much energy, you get, you're worth about less than they'd pay somebody at some retail store, on an hourly wage, if you kind of look at the time you're stuck in. So you need that sort of leverage. And I found in my life that all of my 18 deals are strategic, like you. I invent the product and you have the system to be able to just distribute that product and everybody wins. And that's what I always look for is I'm a very good creator of a product or a service. And then why don't I marry that up with people that really know how to push it out into the marketplace and everybody wins. And so kind of that along that story is that the company that got so big, the banker put his people in over the top of me. And, I'm okay with that. I mean, you have people over the top of you because they knew how to run a business that big. I never had anything that big in my life. And now I'm 37 years old, 10 years later after the roller skate deal. I had a lot of experience, but I've taken them up to about 3 years and then sell them or, strategically merge them out. Right. So they put people over me and it was a fight from the moment they got there. It was not working. And what I learned with that is that you really start to own people's mind and their spirit when you treat them with kindness. And I call it kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
This group was so evil. They didn't invite me to the board meetings. They didn't invite me to weekly meetings. They wanted me out. They didn't want anything to do with my. And I tell my kids, I said, you can never fight professional jealousy. There's no cure for professional jealousy. If somebody has jealousy for you, you need to just leave the scene and let it go because there's no repair and that sort of thing. And I killed these guys with kindness. Hi, Joe. See him in the hallway. How's your day, Joe? And he wouldn't look at me, walk down the road. And I'd send a note, hey, I pray everything's great for you. I hope everything's well in the family. And I would just overly be kind to these guys. It killed them. It killed them. Killed them so much.
Drive him crazy, doesn't it?
I drove him so crazy. He said to me in the hall, don't you know everybody hates you here? Don't you know that? I said, no. I mean, I really like you guys. Well, no one likes you here. I mean, he just got he was a little guy, And I'm 6'4", and these guys, I was 5'6" or something, just hated me. And a lot of the guys, because he was the leader, hated me. But it was so bad that they made me a huge offer to get out. A major, multi-million dollar offer to leave. That's
Uh-huh.
how much it killed them.
Isn't that
And so,
funny?
through that, just killing people with kindness and trying to be, trying to do that Christian kind of thing to people, there is a message in it. There is a very clear message in slapping the other cheek. Like,
I was just talking with my executive assistant earlier today, in fact, about this exact topic, and she's dealing with some family issues. Her father has not been a great role model, and
hmm,
it's done a lot to hurt her over the years. And I was saying that what others do says more about them than it does about you. And every day, multiple times a day in our lives, in our marriages, our or relationships, like our work interactions, we come to little forks in the road, and we can choose to let. The way I explained it is, I said we can choose to reach up or sink low, right? We
hmm,
can
yeah,
choose to let someone dictate for us how we are going to feel, or we can choose to not. And our thoughts dictate our feelings. We can change our thoughts. That changes how we feel. And it's just kind of teaching her a little bit about this principle, because we've all had experiences where we were treated unfairly,
hmm,
maybe taken advantage of, or even hated, and we're like, I don't deserve this. What? No, I'm a good guy, right? And and yet all we can do is kill them with kindness. And it's a principle of certainty, I believe, that we choose our outcome. I'm sure you're familiar
oh
with
yeah,
the book Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor
oh
Frankl.
yeah, Victor Frankl, yeah.
Incredible
In
book.
fact, our marriage counselor was a protege under him.
If you haven't read it, you're listening. He was a Holocaust
Yeah,
victim in prison,
Holocaust.
and he said the only thing that can be taken from you, I mean, every freedom can be taken from you except for the freedom to choose your response in any outcome, even in a concentration camp,
Right.
right? And then he goes on and talks about how they all remember the prisoners who would go through camp lifting others up, giving away their last piece of bread, and serving those around them, and they're the ones who survived, right? If they had a choice, they're the ones who made it through. And anyway, it's a
Well, the
powerful
other the other
powerful
the
lesson.
other one major lesson was that when I wanted to be a banker, so I sold that mortgage company, and I wanted to be a bank like the guy who lent me the money. So I had negotiated to buy a bank, $2.7 million to buy the bank, and they had the largest distribution of ATM machines in the Mall of America. They had 1,500 of these, which I felt was the coining, a slot machine of life. Just put your money in and make revenue. And so, you put your $270,000 down, which I did. And I got to know the banker, and he brought me to the Jonathan Club, and he romanced me and all that sort of thing. And then one day he says, I've got to make earnings, Tom, and I really need the $2.5 million to buy the bank. I think you're going to get approval. Would you mind forwarding that, wire that to me now, so I can make my earnings, and because I think you're going to get approval. And so, yeah, I said, I'll do that. And he said, yeah. And he said, if you don't make it, then I'll send the money back to you. Well, okay, I didn't get approved by the feds. They didn't approve me. And I called him up and says, it looks like I got a letter here. The feds didn't approve me. And I said, here's wiring instructions. And he says, what money? What money? I said, what do you mean, what money? I wired you $2.7 million. And I said, here's the wiring instruction. He said, I don't remember that. I don't know you did that or not. Sue me.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I hired a lawyer, spent $500,000, sued him, and the lawyer comes to me and he says, "Now I can prove in court that this guy was looking to get you, this president of this bank. I can prove all that in court. But there is one sentence at the bottom of the contract that you probably didn't focus on, and that is there's no deals in or around this deal. So the handshake that I gave him for the 2.5 million to send him was a handshake for him to send me the money back. All it did was said, here's $270,000 down. If you get approval, you pay me the 2.7. If you don't get approval, we'll send back the 250,000. It didn't say anything about the 2.5 million. So my attorney, which was the greatest favor probably you could ever do me, said, you're an intelligent man. You're an investment banker. You've done well in your life. The court could say, they could say, I'm sorry, sir, that's all that there is. And we're not going to, you lost your money. He said, Tom, it's going to take another $1.5 million to get to court in about 5 years of your time. He said, I'm just going to give you my thought on this. He says, I'm a lawyer and I'll take your money. But he said, you should have been more intelligent than that and take ownership of your loss and call it a day. Mm-hmm. And we'll go into arbitration, which we ended up getting the deposit back, the 250 back. And I got a brand called iBank and all that. But not anywhere near my 2.7 million that I invested in the deal. And the lawyer, basically the lawyer said, you should have known better. You're a smart guy. You could lose. And now what does it feel like to lose 4 million and not 2.7? How do you feel now?
Yeah.
And I went away and talked to my wife about this. And I said, you know what? He's right. I said, I feel bad already, but I said, the worst thing he could do is to have mind share. He already got my wallet. Now I'm going to give him a mind share with anger. I'm going to be angry at him, and it's going to come up and it's going to fester, and I'm going to get more angry. And I could possibly do something that I don't want to do or wouldn't want to do based on that anger. And that would be get back at him in some way, vengeance. And I took ownership of this, and I share this with almost everybody I know, my kids and all, is the minute you can forgive, honestly forgive for someone that has failed you, it releases mind share completely. It just ended. I mean, the fact that he
100%
$2.7 million, I took ownership of it, and I've never thought about it since. It was, I said, hey, listen, I had something to do with it. Maybe it's not right. Maybe it's not fair. But all I can do is forgive this guy for being the bad guy that he is. And I want to say this is the greatest gift that God can give you is forgiveness of people that have harmed you, because it'll freeze you up in such a major way that you can move on in your life and spend the rest of your life. That's yesterday. That's the rock in the river that you ran over and fell out of the boat. Hey, the rock was there. Okay. Move on. And I must say it was these messages that I get in these businesses. I said earlier, I don't know why God sends them to me, but he does, and they're for my benefit.
Well, they're powerful, and they're principles of creating a life that's certain, right? A life of certainty. I started a TikTok channel not too long ago because I send messages every day to my team. And I call them my certainty easy insights, right? How do you make certainty a part of your life? How do you make it easy? How do you make it sure? And I finally said, well, I'm just going to start putting them on TikTok and try to help more people. And I still don't have very many followers. It's just something I recently started. But one of those tips I shared was exactly that. It was about forgiveness and how powerful it is. It's like if you can't forgive someone, they say it's like drinking poison and wishing they got sick, right? It is such a powerful and important principle to unencumber your life. It
takes the ropes off. Takes the shackles off.
Exactly right. To take the shackles off. I say unencumber, but it's really to lighten your life. Who wants to carry around a backpack with a bunch of boulders in it, right? That's what we're doing when we can't forgive. And
it's more important than forgetting, because the people think, I got to forget that. It's a memory that's going to be forever in your life.
Yeah.
But that forgiveness piece, that's the piece that, and I really, and I give this talk to schools, USC and UCLA and UCI. I'm an entrepreneur speaker at these colleges for kids, and I said, if you don't have a higher power in your life as a business person, You mean it's like you don't have a board of directors. You don't have anybody around you that can help you with the sanity of or the insanity of life. And that higher power, I don't, with whatever religion you have, whatever it is, that higher power is the guiding grace of helping you along with your spouse and along with people that you trust. And I call it my sanity committee, that I can run these things by, and they kind of like give me that, that slap across the face and say, "Now, Markel, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to, I want you to think about that." So I call
That's
it my
good.
sanity committee. Um, and it's the head person on that's my wife.
Yeah.
But these things are I think it takes a higher power to help in the sanity or the insanity of life. And how do you deal with all the boulders and rocks and the trees and the waterfalls and so on. But this last one, and I know you want to get to that because we're losing time here, is that as I've gone down this river of life, I myself have had to experience, you have real estate you own, you have insurance policies you own, you have stocks and bonds you own, you have jewelries and guns and, whatever you've collected along the years, artwork. And from my law, my having lawyers in my camp and CPAs in my camp and really smart people, they have protected me from myself, right? That I
Right.
mean, they have said to me,
Yourself and others, right?
myself, and my wife and my kids and all that, is that this asset protection issue is so vitally important. And as I discovered as I've gotten older, how many people don't have asset protection. They're not doing anything about it. And when I talked to the friend who introduced us, Randy, and he says, I don't have a trust. I mean, here's a guy that's
He's
got
worth
a
millions.
$10 million net worth. And he says, I don't have a trust, just haven't had time to figure it out. Didn't know the lawyers to go to, didn't trust so on, didn't think I had enough. All the issues of
Yeah.
if you own one piece of real estate and you have a stock account and you have a bank account, you need a trust. I mean, 70% of the people don't have a trust, Patrick, in the United States.
I know.
70%. These
It's
are the people
crazy.
that own real estate.
Successful business owners and wealthy families and people who've spent an entire career building up pension and paying off their home and these things, and they are completely exposed
And
without.
they don't really realize on the negative side is that the negative side is the government has $49 billion of people's assets and monies in their bank accounts that aren't able to be distributed to the family just because of one small document called a living trust.
Yeah.
I mean, they hold these assets, so you now have to hire lawyers, probate lawyers, go into court, wait 5 or 6 years, spend 50, 60, 70,000 or a couple million. I mean, Robin Williams is a good example. Millions and millions and millions of dollars spent because of one clause in his trust that says if you sue as an heir, thinking that you should have gotten more, you're out of the trust. He didn't put that document in there. So all the kids and all the family and the cousins are all suing each other, and there's no end. Michael Jackson didn't put a single asset in his trust. They have been fighting this with millions and millions of dollars to get this out of his trust to his family. Still sitting in there in probate.
Still going.
Still going. And we're not the Michael Jacksons and the Robin Williams of the world. Maybe some of us own a home in Omaha, or you own a bank account, or you have some stocks, or you own some jewelry, or
Yeah.
some artwork, or whatever you think is valuable. The living trust is the only way around that. And that's just one leg of the stool. The other two legs of the stool are a power of attorney for your health care. If you're over 18 years old and with HIPAA, if you have an issue and you're unconscious and you're over 18 years old, there's nobody there to make that decision except the doctors. So if you don't have a healthcare power of attorney to let your parents or your sister or your wife or whoever decide what happens if you go into a coma or if you're just fuzzed out, you've been hit by an accident and your POA, your power of attorney for healthcare, decides who in the world that you love and respect can help make those healthcare decisions.
Right.
The other thing you need is a POA for financial power of attorney financial. So let's say you don't die. I mean, you're just injured. Who's going to run your financials? Who's going to help with this state? Who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to do that if you're over 18 years old? You got to tell somebody. You got to
Well,
have that
that's
document.
that leads to the point I made earlier that this isn't just for seniors. It's not just for
No.
retirees. Every individual and family from 18
Over
years
18 years
old
old.
up should
Over
have
18 years
a
old.
living trust in place. Obviously, it
And
becomes more valuable and more important as you develop your assets and so forth. But I mean, I have three companies. We're starting a fourth. We have a lot going on that we need to have protected. And without a living trust, how do you do that? Right? You're going to get stuck in probate. It's going to take you 3 years or more to get through it and cost you probably $50,000 to
at least.
at least to come through it. And everything's frozen. Everything's on hold until that's done.
Exactly. And, you can go, I have friends that are trust attorneys that charged me when I didn't have this business. I created this online solution. And, my starting cost was $6,000 for one of these with a local
Yeah.
attorney. That he gets in, he meets with you for several hours. They list the documents. He goes back to his computer. They fill it out. And you can go on to, I don't know, livingtrust.com or whatever. I don't know. You can get them for $500. But for $2,000, 1998, our product has the four legs, has the last will and testament, has the living trust, has the POA financial, POA healthcare, and for less than $2,000, you are completely covered. Your assets, your family, everything that you have in your life is covered from the state taking it and giving it to your kids without issue. It goes right into the court. It's proved, and everybody's all the assets are distributed. So,
Yeah.
and I pride myself in the companies that we've started is that one is I'm here to elevate people's lives. If you go to seniority.ai, the very mission statement is elevate people's lives. And as
I
we
love
have our
that.
meetings and we have this is our core value of our business, elevate people's lives. And you elevate their life by protecting them from protecting your assets from the government who wants to take them and or creditors who want to take them. Right? I mean, or people you get in an accident and you harm somebody and they want to take them. Whatever it is, these are very, very important documents to have in your life. We have a mortgage company that we specialize in seniors and mortgages, this new government product. We have a estate planning. Most of the people that that we do the trust for want our group to help them when they want to liquidate. So there's no kid fights, there's no cousin fights. Just take it over to us. We follow the rules of the trust. We distribute the assets. Nobody's fighting.
So you also will do the trust management for somebody wants you to be the executor.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end of the day, and we've done that a number of cases because the kids are yelling or there's some mental issues or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're here to really elevate people's lives in a way that protects them from themselves, and we do it for an economic value that is fair for everyone.
Well, you
For
know,
less than $2,000, nobody can do this for less than 2,000. And our trust documents are signed by lawyers. They're done by a lawyer. They're
right.
not just some document online you go out and print yourself and you take it down to and certify that you signed it. Our lawyers have reviewed it for accuracy based on the assets and the data you tell us. And it's all online. We can do this everywhere. We have 50 lawyers in all states. We do this online, step by step by step by step. We work with you to do that. Our team works with you. And I just love this. I just love doing this for people. It's very rewarding.
Well, the long and the short of it is we need it. There are things that happen that are out of our control when people take advantage. Obviously, there's things that we can't control, but the worst things I think that happen are the things that we could have controlled, we could have protected against. We know we should have, would have, could have, right? As they say. Um,
Talk about certainty. I mean, this goes right into your core value. It brings
100%.
certainty to your life. You can get this off the back burner. You get this back of your head. You can leave it. It's done now. It's your family's taken care of. The assets are protected. No one's going to get to them. And the people that you want to have, I'll have them. And I can't imagine anything better than certainty, more certainty than your financial affairs and your asset affairs being protected.
Well, we think we're immortal, right? We think we're immune. It'll happen to someone else. I just
Right.
had a sister-in-law who is very young. She's got 4 young daughters, and she had a cardiac arrest. I mean, we thought she had 50 years ahead of her, right? And out of the blue, she was gone. And
Right.
that happens
And
far too often when you didn't see it coming, but you should have been prepared. I always say there's 3 different kinds of sight. There's foresight as we prepare and look forward to things. There's hindsight. We look back, 2020 hindsight, sometimes painfully, and wish we had done things. Maybe the most important, though, is midsight. Where are we at today? And what can we learn? And what can we do today to make sure that hindsight isn't painful, and to make sure we're preparing for our future, and make sure we're making those steps that we end up not having regrets.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do. I mean, you're with attorneys in all 50 states, the online process you have, people can they can get this whole thing done in about an hour, right?
An hour.
It's so easy.
Complex as they got. Just go to seniority.ai, put the contact in and put Patrick Lane or Certainty so we know where you came from.
Yep.
One of our team members will get back to you and help you through the process. It's all there. But you know what? We understand you want to talk about it, and we're here to do that and try to figure out how to make it easier for you to protect your assets and make sure that you have a legacy to leave your family.
Well, from roller skates, well, first you started with Kirby vacuum cleaners, right?
Right.
To roller skates and mortgages and investment banking. And I think as you look back and you talk about these lessons you've learned of not judging and forgiving and being open and mindful of the divine choreography in your life, right? These are principles that flow and ebb and flow throughout this concept of certainty, right? I think they're all an essential piece. If we can do these easy steps, they're not complicated, but they're critical steps to help create more certainty for us and our heirs. I think we have a responsibility to do it. And it's more than just a nice idea. It is a mandate. And so when we do look back with 2020 hindsight, we don't have those regrets, right?
Right.
We don't wish we had, because it does happen, and too many.
No, I'm telling my kid, I never want to say I wish I could have, would have. I never
Right.
ever want to say that. I want to be able to go down that road and never look back and go, I wish I could have, would have. Never.
Well, and I'd love to maybe have you on the show again. I don't have very many guests on more than once. I could count on one hand the guests that I have. But I'd love to dig into more of how someone can prepare for retirement, prepare for, for their heirs, for their posterity. And I might even invite my dad to join us. Maybe we do a trio with the 3 of us, because my parents have done a really good job of preparing for that day, right? They call it their graduation day, right? When they have this big red binder that they've prepared that has everything in it that we'll need when they pass on, right? They have account numbers, they have policies, they have their entire funeral planned out, their obituaries written. I mean, it is set, and that is the greatest gift that they can give us. They have their trust and their will and their burial plots paid for. And do you know how many people the parents pass on, and the kids don't even know where to start? They don't even know where the where their bank account is, right? And things like that, let alone if they have a trust.
Well, what I also like, to your point, what I really love about this is that we're never asking anybody how much money's in the bank. We just get the last four digits on the insurance policy, the bank account, the stock account. You just get all the digits, because I can do this now for I don't want to know how much my friends are worth. I mean, they don't want to tell me either, and everybody's got that shady thing. They want to hide all that, and that's great, because this allows you just to put the digits in, because the money's going up and down, and some's coming in, some's going out. So, what I love about this is I can do this with any one of my friends, look them in the face and say, what's the last four digits on the account? It's Merrill Lynch, last four digits. It's, Chase, last four digits. It's, mortgage. I can look on Zillow and tell you what the value of your house is, and put that in the value, in the valuation. And then, who gets what and what percentage do you want? Do you want dollars? Do you want percentages? And it just goes down and so simply asks them, to do that. And we can do this for our closest friends. And it's all
totally confidential, totally private,
all confidential. Yep.
Yeah.
And you got a 3-ring binder of, like your dad and mom have, this 3-ring black binder with your name on it and your trust name. And then if something happens, that binder catches in a fire, flood, we've got it online, all stored for you, documents. You can come in and if you have another kid, or, you add more assets, you can come in, and every year we can quickly go through it without charging you a fortune. So it's as you said, there are things that we have to do so that it creates certainty in our life. And this is one of them.
This is most definitely one of them. It's interesting. I just saw a call. I sent it to voicemail, but it was from our friend, Jim Bland at Seniors Home Services. And you made a point earlier, and we've got to wrap up. We're at the end of the show here, but you made a point earlier about leverage, right? About how you shared your mortgage with this network of 3,000 bankers, and that's what helped blow your business up.
Yeah.
We do the same thing. I don't sell onesies and twosies. I introduce what we do to groups who then take it to the masses. We're the number one dealer in the country out of 3,500 dealers now with Jim's company, Remote Care Today. And we're going to have this service included in his suite of offerings, right? For all of his Medicare patients. And so, but that's it's another certainty secret, if you will. It's a principle of certainty is these collaborations, these joint ventures where, you have this amazing service. He has a great network. We have a relationship. Let's work together and bless more lives, right? And help make certainty the household name, right? I'm not talking our company. I'm talking the principle of certainty. But
1 + 1 = certainty.
1 + 1, and add in Jim's one, we got 111, right?
right, 111.
Yeah. So anyway, it's nice having you on the show, and maybe we'll do another one, and we'll talk estate planning, because this is a critical piece. But there are some other things we can do that make it even better. I am so grateful to my parents for having done this and taken that to that next degree, where if one of them dies, or if they both died, and we have a blueprint, a step-by-step blueprint for what to do and how to do it. We already divided up who wants which painting and who wants which, who wants the piano. And we did that as kids with them. We've got directions and instructions. We have account numbers. We have all of it. And for me, it's so reassuring.
Yes.
It's just an enormous blessing. And so if you're listening to this and you haven't done that, this seniority piece is a critical element, but consider the rest of that as well. Maybe we will do another show and drill down on it, because
I hope so.
I think it's the greatest gift you could give your kids, right? So
to your point, on the negative side, it creates unity, family unity, because it stops fighting and the arguing, because it's all right there in black and white.
Yeah, it's made it easy. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for your time. Thank you for having me on.
Most welcome. Look forward to ongoing conversation, and excited about what we're doing with Remote Care Today and Jim's company and Senior Guide Magazine. We're going to put you in there, and the list goes on. I think I need to introduce you to my friend Carl, who owns one of the largest databases in the country. He has millions of seniors. I think we might be very interested in
Carl, okay.
partnering with us. Remind me to tell you more about him. But
I'll do that. I put it down here on our thing.
Yeah. Again,
God bless you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on, and always a pleasure, Tom. We're excited to work with you, and
thrilled.
And onward and upward. Have a great rest of the week.
God bless. Good luck on that fly fishing.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening today. If you are a frequent listener, we appreciate your patronage. If you've just stumbled across our call, hope you'll come back every Wednesday. I do an interview like this every Wednesday, except the first Wednesday I do a monologue. I've been going through the alphabet and discussing principles of certainty. Started with accountability and balance, composure, discipline, all the way through. The next one is Q. You got to come back and listen to hear what it was, but what it's going to be. But going through the alphabet, when it's done, I'm going to put it into a book. And, it's an interesting principle. But I always say certainty is out there. You can find it. We can help. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.